Commander Jake Morrison stood at the window of his ship, staring at the empty space where Earth should have been. His hand shook as he gripped the metal rail. 3 weeks ago, he had left his home planet on a routine trade mission. Now, returning to the Sol system, he found nothing but darkness and silence. The horizon's edge, his diplomatic vessel, had tried every communication channel. No response came from Earth. No signals from the moon. No automated beacons from the hundreds of space stations that should have been orbiting humanity's home world. Just empty coordinates where a thriving planet had existed for billions of years. Jake's crew had searched for 2 full days before accepting the impossible truth. Earth was gone. Not destroyed, not invaded. Simply gone, as if someone had reached down and plucked it from space like picking an apple from a tree. Now Jake sat in the council chamber of Zenith Prime, the massive space station that served as headquarters for the Galactic Coalition. Dozens of alien species filled the circular room, their varied forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. Some had multiple arms, others floated in containment fields. A few were so strange that Jake could barely recognize them as living creatures. He had just finished presenting his evidence to the council. The faces looking back at him showed everything from disbelief to outright mockery. "This is absurd," said Council Member Tresh Khan, a reptilian creature with purple scales. "Entire planets do not simply vanish. Your human imagination has gotten the better of you." Jake fought to keep his voice calm. "I have the sensor logs, the recordings, the stellar cartography data. All of it proves that Earth existed at these exact coordinates 23 days ago. Now there's nothing." "Perhaps your equipment malfunctioned," suggested another council member, this one resembling a floating jellyfish. "Humans are known for their faulty technology." Before Jake could respond, a new voice cut through the chamber. "The evidence is authentic." All eyes turned to Lisa Grant, a tall woman with dark skin and intelligent eyes. She served as the Coalition's science advisor and xenobiologist. In the 3 years since humans had joined the Coalition, Lisa had become one of their most respected researchers. She walked to the center of the room, her tablet displaying the data Jake had provided. "I have analyzed Commander Morrison's findings thoroughly. The quantum signatures are genuine. 3 weeks ago, something generated an energy pulse of unprecedented scale in the Sol system. The pattern matches theoretical models for spatial displacement technology." "Theoretical being the key word," Treshkan interrupted. "No civilization possesses such technology." "No known civilization," Lisa corrected. "But the evidence doesn't lie. Something moved Earth. Something incredibly powerful." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Then a deep voice broke it. "She is correct." Kreltok rose from his seat near the back of the room. The Varith warrior stood nearly 8 feet tall. His forearms crossed over his armored chest. As chief of Coalition security, his word carried weight. His species valued truth above all else. "I have classified information to share," Kreltok continued, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. "Over the past standard year, 17 Coalition worlds have gone silent. All were small colonies or minor member planets. We assumed communications failures or local disasters. We did not investigate thoroughly." Shocked murmurs rippled through the council. Jake felt his stomach tighten. 17 worlds? How had he not heard about this? Why was this kept secret? Demanded Lisa. Kreltok's multiple eyes blinked slowly. Because the Coalition did not consider them important enough to warrant concern. They were low-tier members, expendable. The word hung in the air like poison. Jake understood now. Earth was a low-tier member too. Humanity had only joined the Coalition 3 years ago. They were still considered primitive by galactic standards. Their homeworld, born in what the aliens called a death world zone with heavy gravity and dangerous predators, made other species nervous. To most of the galaxy, humans were violent, unpredictable, and barely civilized. If Earth had disappeared, many council members probably felt relieved rather than concerned. Marshal Venix, the Coalition's military leader and member of an insectoid species, clicked its mandibles together. "I will authorize an investigation fleet. 3 vessels. Minimal crew. They will search the nearby sectors for any evidence of these disappearances." 3 ships? Jake couldn't hide his disbelief.
"My entire species is missing and you're sending 3 ships?"
"That is more than we sent for the other 17 worlds," Venny replied coldly. "Consider it a courtesy." Jake wanted to argue, to demand more, but he knew it would accomplish nothing. The coalition had made its position clear. Earth didn't matter enough to them. The council dismissed the session. As the various species filed out, Jake remained seated, his head in his hands. He thought of his daughter, Amy. She had sent him a message just hours before whatever happened to Earth occurred. She'd been so excited about her university graduation. He had promised to be there. Now he might never see her again. Commander Morrison. He looked up to find Lisa and Kreltok standing before him. The warrior's expression was hard to read, but something in his bearing suggested respect. "You should know something," Kreltok said. "I reviewed the quantum signature data more carefully. There are patterns within the energy pulse, mathematical sequences that do not occur naturally." Jake stood quickly. "What does that mean?" "It means," Lisa said, her voice tight with worry, "that whoever took Earth didn't do it randomly. The displacement was deliberate, calculated. Someone wanted your planet specifically. But why? What could they possibly want with Earth?" Kreltok's forearms unfolded, a gesture that in Vareth culture indicated uncertainty. "That is what we must discover. I'm assigning myself to the investigation fleet. This mystery troubles me deeply." "I'm coming too," Lisa added. "The coalition's orders be damned. If something is taking inhabited worlds, we need to understand what and why." Jake felt a small spark of hope kindle in his chest. He wasn't alone in this. Despite the coalition's indifference, he had found allies. That night, unable to sleep, Jake reviewed Amy's last message again. Her smiling face filled the screen as she talked about her plans for after graduation. She wanted to work in asteroid mining, following in her father's footsteps of exploring space. "I'll make you proud, Dad," she had said at the end of the recording. "I promise." Jake's throat tightened. He touched the screen gently, as if he could somehow reach through it to touch his daughter's face. "I'll find you," he whispered. "Whatever it takes. Wherever you are, I'll bring you home." The next morning, the investigation fleet prepared to depart. 3 small vessels, barely enough for a proper search. But Jake didn't care about the size of the fleet anymore. He had a mission now, a purpose. As the Horizon's Edge powered up its engines, Jake sat in the captain's chair and stared at the starfield ahead. Somewhere out there, hidden among the billions of stars, his planet waited. His daughter waited. His entire species waited for someone to find them, and Jake Morrison, human commander and determined father, would not stop searching until he did. The hunt for Earth had begun. The investigation fleet moved through space like silent ghosts. Jake's ship, the Horizon's Edge, led the small group. Behind him flew the coalition cruiser Unity, commanded by Captain Zinthar of the Mindari species. 3 smaller science vessels completed their formation. 4 weeks had passed since Earth disappeared. 4 weeks of searching, scanning, and finding nothing but questions. Jake sat alone in his quarters studying the star maps again. His eyes burned from lack of sleep. Every night he dreamed of Amy. Every morning he woke to the nightmare of her absence. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. Lisa entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. The smell reminded Jake of Earth, of home, of everything he had lost. She handed him 1 cup and sat down across from him. "You need to rest," she said gently. "I'll rest when we find them." Lisa sighed. "Jake, we're doing everything we can. The quantum trail is faint, but we're following it. We will find answers." Before Jake could respond, an alarm sounded through the ship. Both of them rushed to the bridge. Kreltok was already there, his forearms working multiple control panels at once. "Report," Jake demanded. "We found something," Kreltok said. His voice carried an edge of excitement. "Old smuggler station, abandoned. But the quantum residue we've been tracking passes directly through this location." Jake's heart raced. "Take us in." The station hung in space like a rusted spider web. Parts of it had broken away, drifting in the void. But the core structure remained intact. The fleet docked carefully and an exploration team suited up. Jake insisted on going himself. Lisa and Kreltok joined him, along with a young human engineer named Danny Price. Danny had arrived just days ago, his colony ship having been in deep space when Earth vanished. The young man's hands trembled constantly. His entire family had been on Earth. Inside the station, emergency lights flickered weakly. The air was breathable but stale. They moved through empty corridors, their boots echoing on metal floors. "Over here," Lisa called. She had found the station's security office. The computers were old but still functional. After several minutes of work, she managed to access the surveillance files. "Look at this," she whispered. The screen showed footage from 5 weeks ago. Space outside the station appeared normal at first. Then something emerged from nowhere. It was massive, larger than any ship Jake had ever seen. But it wasn't a ship. The structure looked organic, like something grown rather than built. Geometric patterns covered its surface, shifting and changing as they watched. "What is that thing?" Danny asked, his voice barely audible. The construct moved slowly across the screen. As it passed near a small moon, lights pulsed across its surface. It seemed to be scanning, searching for something. "Rewind that," Jake ordered. "There, stop." Lisa froze the image. Jake pointed at symbols visible on the construct's surface. "Those markings. They look like the mathematical patterns you found in the quantum signature." "You're right," Lisa said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. She pulled up the data from Earth's disappearance and placed it side by side with the image. The patterns matched perfectly. "This thing took Earth," Jake said. "But what is it? Who built it?" Kreltok leaned closer to the screen, his multiple eyes examining every detail. "I have seen mentions of such constructs in ancient Verath texts. Stories passed down from before my people joined the stars. They spoke of collectors, beings that gathered worlds. Collectors?" Lisa looked at him sharply. "That's just mythology." "Mythology often contains truth," Kreltok replied. "My ancestors believed the collectors served the old ones, gods who walked between dimensions." Danny suddenly grabbed Jake's arm. "Sir, look at the timestamp. This footage is from 5 weeks ago. Whatever that thing is, it was here before Earth disappeared." Jake felt cold realization wash over him. It was scouting, planning. Earth wasn't taken randomly. We were chosen. They continued searching the station and found more evidence. Records showed similar constructs had appeared near all 17 vanished worlds. Each time the construct would arrive, scan the planet, then disappear. Within days, the world would vanish completely. As they prepared to leave the station, Kreltok froze. His warrior instincts, honed through centuries of Verath military tradition, sent warning signals through his body. "We are being followed," he said quietly. 3 vessels. Unknown configuration. They have been tracking us for at least a day." Jake's hand moved to his weapon. "Why didn't our sensors detect them?" "Their technology is advanced." "Very advanced." Kreltok's forearms moved to his own weapons. "We should return to our ships immediately." They rushed back to the horizon's edge. Captain Zinthar of the Unity contacted them immediately. The Mindari captain's voice echoed in their minds, his telepathic abilities allowing him to communicate directly with their thoughts. "Commander Morrison, I sense great danger. Whatever follows us carries power that hurts to perceive. My mind recoils from their presence." "Can you tell what they want?" Jake asked. "Only emotions, curiosity, wariness. They watch us like predators studying prey." The fleet prepared for possible combat, but the mysterious ships kept their distance, never coming close enough for clear scans. They were shadows, barely visible, always just beyond reach. Days passed in tense silence. Then, as the investigation fleet prepared to jump to the next search coordinate, they found something floating in space. A small beacon, clearly placed intentionally where they would find it. Lisa analyzed it carefully. "It's a message beacon. Simple technology, designed to be understood by any species." "What does it say?" Jake asked. Lisa activated the beacon. A hologram appeared showing star coordinates. Below them, a single word repeated in hundreds of languages. Human, Verath, Mindari, and dozens more.
One word that made Jake's heart pound. Sanctuary. Is it a trap?
Danny asked nervously. "Possibly," Kreltok admitted. "But it could also be genuine. Someone may be trying to help us." Jake stared at the coordinates. They pointed to a nebula system, far from any known trade routes. A place where secrets could hide easily. At that moment, a priority message arrived from Coalition headquarters. Marshal Venix's face appeared on the screen, his insectoid features twisted in anger. "Commander Morrison, you are ordered to return immediately. This investigation is terminated. The Coalition Council has deemed it too dangerous and too expensive to continue." "Dangerous?" Jake felt rage building in his chest. "My entire species is missing." "That is unfortunate," Venix replied coldly. "But the Coalition must consider the greater good. 3 ships and their crews cannot be risked for a single lost world. You have 48 hours to return to Zenith Prime. The transmission ended. Jake stood in silence, his mind racing. 48 hours. Then the mission would end. Earth would be abandoned. His daughter would be lost forever. What will you do? Lisa asked quietly. Jake looked at his small crew. Lisa, who had risked her career to join him. Kreltok, who had chosen honor over orders. Danny, whose entire family was missing. Captain Zinthar, whose telepathic gifts were their greatest hope. We follow the beacon, Jake said firmly. Coalition orders be damned. That will make us criminals, Kreltok warned. Rogue agents. We can never return. I know. Jake's voice was steady. But I won't abandon my people. If the coalition won't help, we'll do this alone. Lisa smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. Danny nodded, his trembling hands finally still. My family is out there. I'm going with you. Kreltok placed one of his 4 hands on Jake's shoulder. In Varath culture, we have a saying. Honor demands action, not words. I stand with you, Commander. Captain Zinthar's telepathic voice filled their minds one last time. I have seen a vision. Earth surrounded by thousands of worlds. An impossible place. We must find it. The fleet turned toward the nebula coordinates. Behind them, coalition space grew distant. Ahead lay the unknown. Jake took one last look at the message beacon before they jumped. Sanctuary. The word felt like both a promise and a warning. Whatever waited for them in that nebula, they would face it together, and somehow, someway they would find Earth. The nebula swallowed their ships like a mouth-consuming light. Colors Jake had never seen before swirled around them. Purple mixed with green. Orange bled into blue. His instrument struggled to make sense of the readings. I've never seen anything like this, Lisa whispered from her station. Her fingers moved across the controls, trying to analyze the impossible data. The energy readings are off the charts. This nebula shouldn't exist according to any physics I know. 5 weeks had passed since Earth vanished. 5 weeks of searching, hoping, and refusing to give up. Now, as the horizon's edge emerged from the swirling colors, Jake saw something that made his breath stop. A sphere hung in space before them. Not a planet. Not a station. Something so massive that his mind struggled to understand its scale. The sphere was built from materials that gleamed like captured starlight. Inside it, through a transparent shell, Jake could see thousands of points of light. Those are planets, Danny said, his voice shaking. Thousands of them. All inside that structure. Kreltok's forearms gripped his console. Even the mighty Varath warrior seemed stunned into silence. Impossible, he finally managed. No species could build something this large. We're being scanned, Lisa reported. Multiple systems targeting us. Very powerful. But they're not weapons. They're analyzing us. Jake waited, his hand hovering over the weapons controls. But no attack came. Instead, a message appeared on every screen in the fleet. Simple text in hundreds of languages. Welcome, seekers. Enter the sanctuary. You are expected. Automated systems guided their ships toward a docking port. The structure grew larger as they approached. What Jake had thought was big became enormous. What seemed enormous became beyond measurement. The sanctuary was a world unto itself. The docking bay could have held 100,000 ships. Their small fleet looked like insects in a cathedral. As they landed, gravity systems activated, giving them comfortable weight to walk. Jake led his crew out of the ship. The bay was empty except for one thing, a platform in the center glowing with soft blue light. As they approached, the light grew brighter and a voice spoke. Not through speakers, but somehow directly in the air. Greetings, Commander Jake Morrison of Earth. Greetings, Lisa Grant. Greetings, Kreltok. Greetings, Danny Price. Greetings, Captain Zinthar. We have waited for your arrival. Who are you? Jake demanded. Where is Earth? We are the preservers. We are the caretakers left behind by the architects, the ones you might call gods. They created us millions of years ago before they transcended physical existence. The light shifted, forming images in the air. Jake saw beings of pure energy, creatures that existed beyond normal matter. The architects. They moved through space like living stars. The architects built us to serve a single purpose, the preserver voice continued. To protect life. To preserve worlds when danger threatens them. We have performed this duty for countless ages. You took Earth, Jake said. His voice was hard, angry. You took 17 other worlds. Why? To save them. The images changed. Now Jake saw space twisted and broken, a wave of darkness spreading through the galaxy, turning everything it touched into something wrong, something that hurt to look at. This is the corruption, the preservers explained. It spreads through the galaxy, destroying all conventional matter. Worlds touched by it become uninhabitable. Life ceases to exist. We have been collecting endangered worlds, bringing them here to Sanctuary, keeping them safe until the danger passes. Lisa stepped forward. How long has this corruption been spreading? 12,000 years. It grows faster each century. The 17 worlds we collected before Earth were all in its path. Your world was next. Danny's voice cracked with emotion. Is Earth safe? My family? Come, we will show you. The platform beneath them began to move, carrying them through the massive structure. They passed through corridors that seemed to bend in impossible ways. Through windows, they glimpsed other areas of Sanctuary, alien landscapes under protective domes, oceans suspended in energy fields, forests growing in zero gravity. Then they saw it. Earth. The planet hung in its own bubble of space, surrounded by a shimmer of energy. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds, perfect and whole and beautiful. Jake felt tears running down his face. We preserved your world at the moment of displacement, the preserver said. Time passes differently within each bubble. For Earth, only a few days have elapsed. Your people do not yet know what has happened. Danny collapsed to his knees, sobbing. His family was alive, safe. Jake wanted to join him, to let out all the fear and grief he had carried for 5 weeks. But something nagged at his mind. Why is Earth frozen? He asked. Why haven't you told them what happened? Because we must maintain temporal stasis to preserve resources. Each bubble requires enormous energy. With over 3,000 worlds in Sanctuary, our systems are strained. Lisa caught on immediately. 3,000? You said you collected worlds for 12,000 years. How many should there be? The preserver voice hesitated for the first time. We were designed to hold 200 worlds maximum. We have exceeded our capacity by 15 times. The corruption spreads faster than we predicted. We have been forced to save more worlds than we were built to protect. Kreltok growled low in his throat. What happens when you exceed capacity? Failures occur. We have already lost 17 preserved worlds. Their bubbles collapsed. Everyone inside died instantly. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. 17 worlds had died because Sanctuary couldn't hold them all. Earth could be next. Captain Zinthar suddenly gasped and fell to his knees. His telepathic mind, always sensitive, was being overwhelmed. The preservers were trying to share information with him, vast amounts of data that his organic brain couldn't process. Stop, Lisa shouted. You're hurting him. The flow of information ceased. Zinthar lay on the ground, breathing hard. When he looked up, his eyes were different. Changed. Parts of him now understood things no organic being should know. They need our help, Zinthar whispered. The preservers can calculate and process, but they can't create. They can't adapt. They need organic minds to solve problems they cannot see. What kind of problems? Jake asked. The corruption is not natural, the preserver voice admitted. We have analyzed it for 12,000 years. It is a weapon, deliberately created, but we cannot determine its source or how to stop it. Our programming limits our thinking. We can only preserve. We cannot invent solutions. Lisa was already working, her scientific mind racing. Let me see your data, all of it. Maybe I can find something you missed. We will share everything, the preservers agreed. But you must understand. Time grows short. The corruption accelerates. Sanctuary systems fail more each day. Within months, we will lose the capacity to maintain any bubbles. All 3,000 worlds will die. Jake looked at Earth through the observation window. His daughter was down there, frozen in time, unaware that her world teetered on the edge of destruction. He thought of the billions of people on his planet. He thought of the trillions more on the other preserved worlds. We'll find a way, he said firmly. Humans are good at solving impossible problems. There is one more thing you should know, the preservers said. You were followed here. The Coalition fleet has arrived. 300 ships. They surround Sanctuary now. They demand Earth's return and your arrest. Jake's heart sank. Of course the Coalition had followed them. They couldn't allow rogue agents to escape unpunished. And now with 300 warships outside, the situation had become infinitely more complicated. What will they do? Danny asked nervously. Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout Sanctuary. The preserver's voice took on an urgent tone. The Coalition is charging weapons. They believe Sanctuary is a threat. They intend to destroy us to recover Earth. Kreltok's warrior instincts flared. How long until they fire? Minutes. Perhaps less. Jake ran for the communication console. He had to reach Marshal Venix, had to make the Coalition understand. But would they listen? Would they believe that Earth was safe here? That destroying Sanctuary meant killing billions? As he opened the channel, Jake saw something on the sensors that made his blood run cold. The corruption wave. It was closer than anyone had realized. The swirling darkness approached Sanctuary's location, drawn by the massive energy signature of 3,000 preserved worlds. They were trapped between the Coalition's weapons and a wave of destruction that could end all conventional life. And somewhere in the middle of it all, Earth hung in its bubble, fragile and unaware. Jake took a deep breath. Time to become a diplomat again. Time to save not just Earth, but every world the preservers had gathered. Time to show the galaxy what humans could do when everything was at stake. Marshal Venix's face filled the communication screen. His insectoid features showed no emotion, but his mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation in his species. Commander Morrison, you have 10 minutes to surrender. Return Earth to its proper location and submit to arrest. If you refuse, we will open fire. Jake stood in Sanctuary's command center, surrounded by his crew. 300 Coalition warships surrounded them, weapons charged and ready. The odds were impossible. Marshal, you don't understand what you're about to destroy, Jake said, keeping his voice steady. Sanctuary is protecting Earth. If you attack, you'll kill everyone. That is a risk we must take. The Coalition cannot allow rogue agents to steal worlds. We didn't steal anything, Lisa shouted from her station. Show him, Jake. Show him the truth. Jake sent the data they had gathered. Information about the corruption. Evidence of the 17 lost worlds. Proof that Sanctuary had been saving lives, not taking them. Venix studied the data for a long moment. This could be fabricated. Human manipulation to avoid consequences. It's real, Danny called out desperately. My whole family is down there. Do you think I would lie about something like this? The Coalition Council does not trust human testimony, Venix replied coldly. Your species has been part of our civilization for only 3 years. You are still considered unpredictable, dangerous. Jake felt anger rising in his chest. After everything humans had contributed, all the trade agreements and diplomatic missions, they were still seen as primitives, as threats. Before he could respond, new ships appeared on the sensors. Human vessels. Not military, but civilian ships from various colonies. Mining vessels. Trade ships. Even a few passenger liners. They positioned themselves between the Coalition fleet and Sanctuary. A familiar face appeared on another screen. Admiral Chen Lin, an older woman with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes. Jake had served under her years ago before she retired. Marshal Venix, Chen Lin said, her voice carrying decades of command authority. Stand down. Admiral Chen, you have no authority here. You resigned from Coalition service 2 years ago. I resigned from the Coalition, not from protecting humanity. Chen Lin's expression hardened. These civilian ships represent every human colony in this sector. We will not allow you to destroy our home world. You cannot stop 300 warships, Venix stated. No, but we can delay you long enough for the truth to come out. Chen Lin sent her own data package. Jake's eyes widened as he read it. Before Earth vanished, human scientists had detected strange energy readings. They had tried to warn the Coalition about the corruption wave. They had presented evidence, mathematical models, predictions. The Coalition had ignored them, dismissed human science as primitive, refused to investigate, you knew, Jake said quietly. The Coalition knew something was wrong and did nothing. We did not know with certainty, Venix protested. Human predictions are often incorrect. 17 worlds are gone because you didn't listen. Lisa's voice shook with rage. 17 civilizations died while you debated whether to trust us. The communication channel filled with noise as other Coalition ships began arguing among themselves. Some captains agreed with Venix. Others questioned whether attacking was the right choice. The unity of the fleet began to crack. While the Coalition argued, Lisa worked frantically with the preservers. The ancient AI shared all their data about the corruption wave. Together, human intuition and artificial processing power analyzed patterns that had gone unnoticed for 12,000 years. I found something, Lisa said suddenly. The corruption isn't a natural phenomenon. Look at the wave structure. It's too organized, too deliberate. Jake moved to her station. The data showed the corruption spreading through space in geometric patterns, like something intelligent was guiding it. It's a weapon, Lisa continued. But who could create something this powerful? Zinthar, still recovering from his earlier contact with the preservers, spoke in a weak voice. I saw something in the data they shared. References to the void dwellers, beings that exist between dimensions. The architects had rivals, the preserver voice explained. Other advanced civilizations that chose different paths. When the architects transcended, they left the galaxy behind. But the void dwellers remained, changed into something that exists partially in regular space and partially elsewhere. And they're doing this? Jake asked. Why? To make the galaxy suitable for them. The corruption transforms matter into states compatible with their existence. What kills us is life to them. Danny had been quiet, working at his own station. Now he looked up, his young face pale. I found a problem with Sanctuary. A big one? He displayed structural data for the massive sphere. Red indicators flashed across multiple sections. The preservers built this place to hold 200 worlds. It's holding 3,000. The strain is causing system failures. Not just power systems, structural failures. The whole thing could collapse. How long? Jake asked. Days, maybe hours for some sections. 17 worlds already died when their bubbles failed. More failures are coming. The weight of it pressed down on Jake. Earth hung in one of those bubbles. So did billions of other lives on thousands of worlds. If Sanctuary collapsed, they all died. If the Coalition attacked, they all died. If the corruption reached them, they all died. 3 different ways to fail. No clear way to win. Kreltok had been standing silently, his forearms crossed. Now he moved to the center of the room. I must speak with Marshal Venix privately. A private channel opened. Jake couldn't hear what Kreltok said, but he saw Venix's reaction. Shock, anger, then something that might have been respect. What did you do? Jake asked when the channel closed. I challenged him, Kreltok said simply. In Verith culture, when honor is questioned, we settle disputes through combat. I have invoked ancient protocols that even the Coalition must respect. You challenged the Marshal of the entire Coalition fleet? No, I challenged his champion. If I win, Venix must withdraw his ships and listen to our evidence. If I lose, we surrender peacefully. That's insane, Lisa said. Kreltok's multiple eyes blinked slowly. Perhaps. But it is also the only way to stop this standoff without bloodshed. Honor demands it. The challenge was accepted. A neutral ship served as the arena. Jake, Lisa, and Danny watched through video feeds as Kreltok faced his opponent. The Verath warrior moved with grace despite his massive size, his forearms wielding traditional combat blades. The fight was brutal and quick. Kreltok's opponent was skilled, but Kreltok fought with the fury of someone defending not just honor but innocent lives. When it ended, Kreltok stood victorious, breathing hard but uninjured. Venix had no choice but to honor the outcome. The Coalition fleet powered down weapons. We will listen to your evidence, the Marshal said, but I cannot withdraw completely. The Council has ordered me to maintain position. It was enough. With immediate danger past, Jake gathered everyone in Sanctuary's command center. Lisa presented her findings about the corruption. The preservers shared their data. Admiral Chen Lin added human research. A picture emerged. The Void Dwellers were spreading the corruption to transform the galaxy. They didn't know conventional life still existed. The architects had never told them. To the Void Dwellers, they were just remaking an empty galaxy into something they could inhabit. So they're not evil, Danny said. Just ignorant. Ignorance that kills billions, Kreltok growled. Can we communicate with them? Jake asked. We have tried, the preservers said. But our communication methods cannot reach beings that exist partially outside normal space. We need something else. Something creative. Something organic minds excel at that we cannot provide. Lisa's eyes widened. What if we used Sanctuary itself as a communication device? The same technology that preserves these worlds could create a dimensional bridge. Possible, the preservers agreed. But it would require more processing power than we possess. More creative thinking than our programming allows. An idea formed in Jake's mind. Crazy, impossible, but maybe, just maybe, it could work. What if we combined your processing power with human minds? He said slowly. Wake up, Earth. Connect all 8 billion people to your network temporarily. Use human creativity with your computing ability. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at Jake as if he had lost his mind. That's never been done, Lisa said. We don't know if human minds could handle that kind of connection. Then I'll test it, Danny said suddenly. My family's down there. If there's a chance this works, I'll take the risk. Jake looked at the young engineer. Danny's hands no longer shook. Fear had been replaced by determination. Are you sure? Jake asked gently. Danny nodded. For my family. For Earth, I'm sure. The preservers began preparing the connection. Outside, the corruption wave grew closer. Inside Sanctuary, 3,000 worlds waited in their bubbles, unaware of the battle being fought to save them. Jake watched through the window as preparation began. Soon, Danny would connect his mind to an artificial intelligence network. Soon, they would attempt something no species had ever tried. Soon, they would learn if humanity's greatest strength, their creativity and adaptability, could save not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The real test was about to begin. Danny Price sat in the connection chamber, surrounded by glowing conduits. His heart pounded as the preservers prepared the interface. Through the window, he could see Jake, Lisa, and the others watching with worried faces. Are you ready? The preserver voice asked. Danny thought of his mother making breakfast in their small apartment on Earth, his father teaching him to repair engines, his little sister planning her birthday party, all of them frozen in time, unaware that their world had been moved across the galaxy. I'm ready, he said. The connection activated. Danny's scream echoed through Sanctuary. His mind exploded outward. Suddenly, he could feel the vast intelligence of the preservers flowing through his consciousness. Millions of calculations happening every second. Data streams that would take a human lifetime to read passing through his awareness in moments. But it wasn't just data. It was pain. The connection burned through his nervous system like fire. His body shook violently. Blood ran from his nose. Stop it, Jake shouted, moving toward the chamber. You're killing him. Wait, Lisa grabbed his arm. Look at the readings. His brain is adapting. It's working. Danny's screams faded to gasps. The burning pain remained, but his mind was learning to handle it. He could feel the preserver network now. Not just as information, but as something he could navigate. Control. I'm okay, Danny managed to say. It hurts, but I can do this. I can feel everything. All of Sanctuary. All 3,000 worlds. It's beautiful, but also fragile. Through the connection, Danny sensed the structural failures Lisa had warned about. Support systems failing. Energy conduits breaking down. Sanctuary was dying, collapsing under the weight of too many worlds. We need more minds, Danny said. I can hold the connection, but we need others. Many others. Jake understood immediately. Wake Earth. Connect everyone. That will be traumatic for your people, the preservers warned. They will learn in an instant that their world has been moved, that they are in danger. Many minds may break under such stress. Humans are tougher than you think, Jake said. Trust us. The preservers released Earth from temporal stasis. On the planet below, 8 billion people suddenly became aware. Confusion spread like wildfire. Panic followed. Governments scrambled to understand what had happened. Then the preservers broadcast the situation. The truth about the corruption, the threat to all life, the desperate need for help. They offered each human a choice. Connect to the network or remain separate. Help save the galaxy or stay safe. Jake watched the data streams, holding his breath. Would people volunteer? Would they trust something so alien and frightening? The answer came in a wave. Millions of minds reaching out, accepting the connection. Young and old, scientists and artists, teachers and engineers, people from every nation, every culture, every walk of life. Within minutes, 1 billion humans had connected. Then 2 billion, then 5 billion. The network transformed. Human creativity flooded into artificial intelligence. The preservers gained something they had never possessed. Imagination, intuition, the ability to see solutions that pure logic could never find. And humans gained access to processing, power beyond anything they had known. Mathematical abilities that let them solve equations instantly, awareness that stretched across star systems. Together, they became something new, something that had never existed before. Lisa connected next, diving into the network to help organize the massive influx of minds. She found herself working with a teacher from Brazil, an engineer from Japan, a doctor from Kenya. All of them contributing ideas, building on each other's thoughts. We can modify Sanctuary's preservation technology, Lisa said. her thoughts flowing to millions of others. Create dimensional barriers. Separate regular space from the Void Dweller's space without destroying either. The idea sparked through the network. Other minds grabbed it, expanded it, refined it. Within seconds, what would have taken years of research was complete. But there was a problem. Creating dimensional barriers on that scale required enormous energy, more than Sanctuary could provide. We need to dismantle Sanctuary itself, Danny said. His consciousness had spread throughout the structure. He could feel every component, use all its energy at once. One massive pulse to reshape space across the entire galaxy. That will destroy Sanctuary, the preservers noted.
All 3,000 worlds will be returned to normal space.
We will cease to exist. Is there no other way? Jake asked. No, but our purpose was always to protect life. If our destruction saves the galaxy, we accept it gladly. The decision was made. The human network began calculations for the dimensional separation. But first, they needed to communicate with the Void Dwellers, to warn them, to make them understand. Zinthar, his telepathic abilities enhanced by the network, reached out into the spaces between dimensions. His mind, fragile and small compared to the vast intelligence of the Void Dwellers, called out to them. At first, nothing. Then contact. The Void Dwellers' consciousness touched the network. Their thoughts were alien, structured in ways that organic minds could barely comprehend. But the message was clear. Confusion. They had not known conventional life still existed. Through the network, millions of human minds shared their experiences. Love and loss, joy and sorrow, the feeling of sunshine on skin, the taste of food, the sound of music. All the small, beautiful things that made life worth living. The Void Dwellers understood. They had been destroying something precious without knowing it existed. Horror and regret flowed through their thoughts. They agreed to the separation. Two forms of existence, forever apart but both preserved. The galaxy would be divided, with each civilization having space to thrive. The network began the final sequence. Sanctuary's massive energy reserves channeled into one purpose, creating barriers between dimensions across the entire galaxy. Jake felt the power building. Through the network, he could sense every human mind working together. His daughter Amy was there somewhere, her consciousness merged with billions of others. He couldn't talk to her directly, but he could feel her presence. Alive, safe, contributing to humanity's greatest achievement, the energy released in a pulse that reshaped reality itself. Dimensional barriers formed across countless light years. The corruption wave stopped, reversed, transformed into something harmless as it was pushed into the Void Dwellers' space. Sanctuary began to collapse. The massive structure that had held 3,000 worlds started breaking apart, but in an organized way. Each world in its bubble was carefully transported back to its original location. Earth, the 17 coalition worlds that had been taken. Hundreds of species returned home. The human network disconnected as Sanctuary's power faded. 8 billion minds separated, each person returning to their individual consciousness. For a moment, they had been something greater. Now they were individuals again, carrying memories of that brief union. Jake found himself back in his body, gasping for air. Around him, the others were recovering. Danny lay unconscious but breathing. Zinthar's eyes had changed permanently, now showing traces of the connection he had facilitated. Through the window, Jake saw Earth, not in a bubble anymore. Free, whole, floating in space exactly where it belonged. The coalition fleet surrounded them, but now their weapons were powered down. Marshal Venix appeared on the communication screen. For the first time, the insectoid leader's face showed something other than cold calculation. Respect. Commander Morrison, the Coalition Council wishes to extend formal apologies. We were wrong about humanity. We were wrong about many things. Apologies won't bring back the 17 worlds that died before you listened, Jake said quietly. No. But perhaps we can ensure it never happens again. The Council is prepared to offer humanity full membership status. No longer low tier, full voting rights, full protection. We'll consider it, Jake replied. But right now I need to go home. Earth's governments had been informed of everything. Landing clearance was granted. The horizon's edge descended through atmosphere for the first time in 6 weeks. Jake stood on solid ground, breathing Earth's air. Above, the night sky showed something new. Thousands of stars that had not been visible before, the preserved worlds returned to their proper places, a reminder of what had nearly been lost. His daughter Amy found him at the landing site. She ran to him, throwing her arms around him in a fierce hug. "I remember it all, Dad," she said. "Being connected to everyone. Seeing the whole galaxy. It was terrifying and amazing. I know, sweetheart. I was there too. What do we do now? How do we go back to normal after experiencing something like that?" Jake looked up at the stars, at the ships beginning to arrive from other worlds, at the future spreading out before them. "We don't go back," he said. "We move forward. Humanity proved something today. We proved we belong out here among the stars. We proved we can make a difference." In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed. Humanity's role shifted from newcomers to essential members. Other species began to understand what humans brought to galactic civilization. Not just strength or technology, but creativity, compassion, the ability to find solutions where others saw only problems. The Void Dwellers, safe in their own dimensional space, sent a gift through the barrier. Mathematical proofs that opened new fields of physics, a gesture of gratitude and hope that perhaps someday the two civilizations might truly communicate.